Good morning, students, and welcome back to this recorded session. Today, we have to continue learning different topics about language acquisition. And in today's topic, we are going to learn about the present perfect continuous. Well, kids, how do we form the present perfect continuous? It is pretty simple, kids. Well, in affirmative, we have to use the subject plus the verb have or has, don't forget it, plus been is the verb be in past participle, and the present participle, the verb with the ing, and also the object. For example, we have here, they have been buying, the verb with ing, clothes for 3 hours. They have been buying clothes for 3 hours. Okay, remember, and this is the same structure for all of it. How do we conjugate that? ¿Cómo lo conjugamos? Well, it is pretty simple. The things that we have to use are the same. We have to use I, you, he, she, it, we, you, or they. Those are the pronouns. And then we have to use the verb. But in the case of he, she, or it, we have to use has, right? And we have the first one. I have been waiting. You have been waiting. He or she has been waiting. Then we have been waiting. And finally, we have they have been waiting. Pretty simple, right? So we have to use the subject, the verb have or has, the verb be in past participle, the verb in present participle, the verb with ing, and the complement, the object. But how do we make that in negative? It is the same. And we're going to conjugate them. Okay, so we have to use the subject plus have plus not plus been plus the present participle and the object. Now let's see the example here. Jenny hasn't, remember it's the third person, Jenny hasn't been eating much. Jenny hasn't been eating much fruit and vegetable lately. Okay, so we have here it's the same. The only thing that we have to use is add the word not. For example, we have here, I have not been waiting. Then we continue, you have not been waiting. Then we continue, he or she has not or hasn't been waiting. And we have not been waiting. And finally, they have not been waiting. Okay. Now kids, it is pretty simple, right? But we have to make the contraction of it. We can contract the negative form of the auxiliary verb have. How do we make it? It is pretty simple, right? Lo vamos a ver en este momento. How do we contract that thing? ¿Cómo lo contraemos? Okay, let's change it. I haven't been waiting. Then you haven't been waiting. Then he or she hasn't been waiting. Then we got here, we haven't been waiting. And finally, they haven't been waiting. It is pretty simple, right? So the only thing that we need to use is to add or to change something, right? So we have to change when we have to put them together, we have to contract them, and then we have to say haven't or hasn't according to the personal pronoun. And how can we make that in the interrogative form? It is pretty simple. The only thing that we have to use is the verb have at the beginning, then the subject, then been, the past participle of the verb be, and the present participle of the verb, and finally the object. Okay, we got the example here. Have you been feeding the dog? Have you been feeding the dog? Okay, so kids, remember, when we are using this, it's pretty important, so because we are saying that something has happened, right? Okay, how do we have to change that? How do we have to conjugate that thing? We have to change, and we're gonna change it in this moment. Okay, now the first one. Have I been waiting? It's the first one. Okay, one more time. Have I been waiting? The second. Have you been waiting? Remember, the third person. Has he or she been waiting? Then we have here. Have we been waiting? And finally, have they been waiting? It is pretty simple, right? Now, my dears, we have to continue. Now we know the grammar. But what is important here? When do we use the present perfect continuous? ¿Cuándo lo utilizamos? Okay, so firstly, to emphasize the duration of an event that began in the past and continues into the present. Okay, to emphasize the duration. Something that happened in the past that has happened, but it is important now. For example, Maria has been waiting for her date for 50 minutes. For 50 minutes. So it is a duration, right? So she has been waiting for 50 minutes. Ella ha esperado por 50 minutos her date. Okay? So it's something that it has a period. It has a duration. Okay, we have the second example here. The war has been going on for too long. Okay, so let's see the example. So this must stop, said the last president of the United States. Now, we continue, kids. The third example is we have been exploring space since the 1960s. Okay? We have been exploring space since the 1960s. Okay, so you got the example in there. And there is a spaceship traveling. Now, number 2, the second, to be used with or instead of recently or lately. Recently or lately. Recientemente o últimamente. Okay, recently or lately. Then we have here, John has not been feeling very well recently. John hasn't been feeling very well recently. Okay, so he felt so bad. The second example, I have been arguing a lot with my boss lately. I have been arguing a lot with my boss lately. Arguing, having a discussion, having an argument, like that. Claiming for something, reclamando por algo. Okay? Then we have the example number 3. Recently, Jane has been spending too much time at home with her cats. Okay? So, my dears, I hope that you like this video. I hope that you really like it. I hope that you have understood everything. And I had to say thank you and goodbye, my dears. Goodbye.